Train the muscles, not the joints. Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to be training some chest, back, and biceps, part of my 2-day split program. But just so you guys know, I do have the 3-day split program up on my website right now, so check that out if you guys are looking more for a 3-day split. So basically I split the body up into 3 different days, and yeah, I highly encourage people to change their routines up from time to time, because changing your routine up helps you get not only psychologically interested in what it is that you're doing, but it's also extremely good for just causing the muscles to adapt to different stimulus and sometimes hitting you in unexpected areas. Sometimes you have a weak link somewhere, but you don't even realize it until you change your training system up. Sometimes maybe you don't have a lot of good strength endurance, maybe volume training just knocks you on your butt, or sometimes your recovery is not so good. So for instance, you train just 3 or 4 sets for a body part, and then the next day you're sore, then 2 days later you're sore, 3 days later you're sore, 4 days later you're sore. Well, maybe frequent training will really help you with that recuperation ability, because it's not only your muscle that you're actually training when you train in the gym, you're also training a system, a lot of the systems that support the muscle growth and recovery. So yeah, bear that in mind. Changing systems up is a good thing. Changing your programs up, changing your angles up. That's why I'm always doing different angles, and sometimes that's the benefit of training at different gyms and using different equipment as well. And that's one thing I forgot to mention in the home gym disadvantages. Like, one of the cons is that you sometimes get stuck in training just on a few different angles, but you're not necessarily switching things up. But when you change gyms, sometimes a bench press is not necessarily a bench press. For instance, my old gym has 2 bench presses in it, and one of the benches will feel totally different than the other one because they're on different flooring. So one floor is a little bit uneven and the other floor is uneven in the other angle. So sometimes you feel like your left side's a little heavy and sometimes you feel like your right side's a little heavy. And then of course you go to a new gym, and most of you guys have probably experienced this. You go to a new gym and you go to bench press and you're like, wait a second, something feels different. It feels off. My groove is a little bit off. And that's just because there are subtle deviations in the floor. Sometimes there's subtle deviations in the equipment, whether it's the bar, whether it's the pad that your back is on. So it's neat to switch things up, because what happens is that you do end up hitting different fibers, different parts of the muscle do get stimulated just from a subtle change. It can be such a subtle change, and that will make a big difference in how your body gets shocked into growing. So for instance, on the incline here, sometimes I do a 30-degree incline, sometimes it's 45, sometimes it's 60 or 70 degrees. It just depends on the day. Sometimes I'm using an internally facing grip, like such as my palms are facing each other. Sometimes the palms are facing more towards the forehead. I'm supinating more, sometimes I'm pronating. It's always good to change things up, of course, because you want to hit all those different fibers. Now, that said, if you're on a certain program where you want to specialize in a certain movement, sometimes it is good to stick to a certain way of doing something for a period of time, and I'd suggest about 3 weeks to 2 months even. And that means that you will gain strength in that movement because you're going to get specialized in that movement. You're trying to become a super specialist in that area. So I'm doing that with bench press right now. The reason why I'm bench pressing so often is because I want to perfect that movement. I want to build the neural muscular connection. I want to build that groove, because part of strength comes from perfecting the groove, perfecting the coordination in any one movement. And once that coordination is perfected, then you can get more reps and build more muscle tissue, which is the other way you can actually gain more strength. So depending on which one you have done the most of and which one you are plateaued in, so say you've really built your coordination up, you don't feel like you can actually build that coordination up very well or any better, you're doing heavy weight every time you go to the gym, but all you're doing is plateauing or going backwards in strength, at that point it might be a good time to start looking at repping out a bit. Maybe you're doing sets of 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 even, maybe 25. The bottom line is that you want to start contracting the different fibers and building muscle tissue, and then go back to the coordination type training again, go back to the power training. And through going back and forth like this, you will gain more strength overall. That said, this is more when you want to specialize in something. But when you want to actually really hit all the muscle fibers, you want to hit from as many different angles as possible. And sometimes just switching things up will help you make new discoveries on what works for your body. Changing things up is particularly good in hypertrophy type of training. So when you want to hit different angles, you want to hit different fibers, you want to do stretching movements, you want to do contracting movements, and sometimes you want to do the movements that you've been doing for a long time, but you do them slightly different. Such as you may do bench press with a medium grip, but then you go wide grip, and then one day you do a narrow grip. Or you may do your incline, like I talked about before, at a different angle than usual, or you do decline instead of incline. Or you're doing lat pull downs like I'm doing right now, but you do a more medium grip, or you change it underhand or overhand. You change the type of bar. Right now I'm working with a different type of bar at Murph's gym in Chilliwack, and that bar is amazing. I'll show you that in the next few videos. Actually, I'll be showing you that bar. It's pretty crazy actually. Changing things up will really help stimulate and shock the system in different ways, and it can really be useful in building more muscle tissue. Now when you watch me do the lat pull down here, you'll notice that I don't straighten the arms at the top. Although here I'm straightening almost a little bit, and then, okay, now I'm bending a little bit more. The reason why is because I've found this perfect sweet spot to keep that tension on the lat. When I straighten the arms more, then the tension seems to transfer from the lat into the labral joint or into the shoulder joint itself, and I do not feel any more lat stimulation. If anything, I feel the lats actually relax. That's why I do the movement this way. If anything, this is what's developed my lats the most, is this type of movement. I always focus on keeping that tension on the lats. Now, here I'm just going to do an underhand grip, just like I talked to you about before, just changing things up. Is this the best grip for me? I don't find it is, but it is the best grip for some people. So if you're noticing that you cannot feel your lats, try something that's underhand like this. Try supinating that grip and facing the palms towards you, and see, by leaning back and sticking your chest out, you will actually hit the back quite effectively with that movement. So try it out. Just make sure you don't try to round the chest in. I find the biggest mistake I see with a lot of people doing lat pull downs is that they don't stick the chest out. They basically try to round over the bar. It's almost like they're trying to stick their chin right over the bar, and they're trying to arm wrestle that bar down. That will not hit your back very effectively. If anything, it'll hit your rotator cuff and maybe cause you to get golfer's elbow or something. So as you notice, I lean back not because I'm cheating, it's just because I'm trying to stick that chest out just so I can activate those lats and activate that back. Some of you may have noticed that I'm doing a lot of incline curls lately. I'm concentrating more on that movement, and this is another way of switching things up. You may go for months or even years in some cases of doing the same exercise for a body part, and then you switch to something else for several months or a few weeks or years or whatever it is you want to do. But I find that sometimes concentrating on that one new exercise for a period of time is a great way not only to get coordination, but also to perfect the movement and gain some strength in a new angle. It's almost like you're saying, I want to gain strength in this angle now, and then you go to another exercise and then say, I want to gain some strength and some strength endurance in this new angle or this new way of attacking the muscle. So yeah, you're trying to become a specialist in different exercises, and sometimes through practicing a certain movement for a period of time you can do this. So yeah, you don't have to change things up all the time. You could just change things up every once in a while, and that way you are stimulating new growth. And then once you feel like you've gotten to a certain plateau or a certain level of mastery with that exercise, then you could start specializing in another exercise for a period of time. Yeah, get down, yeah, groove into that music, yeah. I feel like a radio DJ. Yeah, groove. That's right, groove, yeah. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com and take care for now. And remember, the live Q&A is on Saturdays, and I'm uploading almost every single day of the week, so I hope to see you in the next video. Take care for now. Share my stuff.